I can tell you that a typical client will be on a turnover between 5 to 10 million US dollar. Here in Israel, it's common that companies that are raising, let's say, 10 to 15 million US dollar will take an internal VP finance or CFO.
Hello and welcome to the Gross Profit Podcast. My name is James Kennedy. I'm the CEO and co-founder at procurementexpress.com. We take the hassle out of managing SMB spend without buying an ERP, but we're not here to talk about that today. Instead, I've got Haim Ratzabi from HR CFO Services, based all the way over in Israel. And for that very reason, we're going to talk today about what it is like to do business in what they call the startup nation. So Haim, thanks very much for coming on the show. Maybe you could kick us off by telling us something about you that not many people know.
Okay, James, hi. Thank you for having me. I can mention that I am, in the last 3 years, I am playing an harmonica. It's a blues harmonica. I think it's a great tool. And this is something that I'm doing in the past 3 years. So it's something new, but I love it very much.
And that's cool because I'm almost 50 now. I'm thinking it's too late to learn an instrument, but I would actually love to have a party trick. So do you just play it for yourself, or is this a party trick you're able to play in a party now?
No, it's like the beginning. I love to travel a lot. At first, I thought that I will take it to my travels, and I'm doing it. But I have a teacher, somebody that I'm going and learn it. And then nowadays I have a small band, a mature band, and not professional band I'm playing with, and it's fun. It's fun, interesting. And although I'm quite old, as you can see from my hair, I find it very interesting and I love it.
Very good. You've inspired me. Maybe I'll pick it up. Maybe we can get you to play a tune by the end of the podcast. Let's find out. Let's see.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that when we bring people on the podcast, they're qualified, they actually have a CFO background. So I always like to grill people at the start. So maybe you could tell us a bit about your background, how you came up in the industry, so we can get a sense of where you're coming from.
Okay. So my name is Haim Ratzabi. I am the owner of HR Boutique CFO Services, specializing in small and medium businesses based in Israel. My background is I bring over 25 years of financial experience in various roles in public traded companies. Most of them are NASDAQ companies. I've done roles as a controller, as a treasurer, and also as a CFO for small startup. My boutique CFO services basically deals with two types of companies, let's say. Large companies or large medium companies that are downsizing and still required to have their reporting on a high level. So this is one type of companies, and the other are mature companies or startups that are getting to be mature and are not too small but not too large, and that they are starting to work with investors, and it starts to be more sophisticated. And most of them are thinking at the end of maybe getting the company to get listed on a public stock exchange. I can tell you that a typical client will be on a turnover between 5 to 10 million US dollar. Here in Israel, it's common that companies above that are raising, let's say, 10 to 15 million US dollar will take an internal VP finance or CFO.
Okay. All right. So you deal in that Goldilocks zone between they're too small for their full-time CFO, but they have the ambitions to grow. Can I ask a bit about the NASDAQ? Because you say small companies, but for me, companies that are listing on the NASDAQ are already going to be quite big. And what sort of effort and process, how much effort does it take to get ready for taking your standard startup company doing 5 or 10 million? How many man hours? I did an interview recently with someone who helps people get onto the AIM in London. It costs about £500,000 in effort and fees and all this sort of stuff. Is it same for NASDAQ?
Yeah, it's same. Basically, I can say that it's take around 2 years. I mean, from start to the end, at least 2 years to bring a company to be listed on NASDAQ, because you must first report and be ready to report as a public traded company. There is a process that you're doing. Mainly here in Israel, we have all the big fours. So you take a big four company and the international law firm that has a base here in Israel, and you just prepare the financial reports in the in IFRS standard or in US GAAP standard, and then you work with the lawyers to do what in the NASDAQ it's called like F1, to prepare and to prepare the company and to describe all its activity and make sure that the financial reports are correct and accurate. So it's a long process basically, but because we have a lot of startups here and we have a lot of VCs here and then investment bank, so everybody in the industry here is quite familiar with this. Person or CFO in my type, I have an experience working in a public traded companies in two publics basically. So I know the regulation, I'm familiar with the technical side, with the processes, and so you just need to take the company and get it along the way with the lawyers, with the Big Four's accountant, everybody, until the end, and until you have a draft of an IPO, and then you going to the market.
And I mean, I read years ago a book by a guy called Duncan Bannatyne, and he brought his company to the stock market in the UK. And he always describes with the bankers being very challenging because the bankers get huge fees. And this guy was a gruff Scottish guy who liked paying anyone, to be honest, but he really didn't like paying the bankers because the bankers were getting, 2 or 3% of his entire business, maybe more, for a couple. He felt like a couple of days' work. Like it seemed ridiculous to him. And just as he was about to list, he basically threatened them. He says, "No, I'm not accepting your fee. I'm changing your fee to a quarter of what it is, or we all walk away." But is it cut through? Do you find it frustrating for founders who maybe have been quite frugal in trying to grow a business, and next thing you're dealing with these people who are making, arguably, I'd say justifiably, and they might say millions of dollars from someone else's effort,
Yeah, but this is the game. This is what I'm telling to customers. This is what I'm telling to my friends, that if you want to play with the big guys, let's say, so This is the price. They will cut between 2 to 3% anyhow, anyways. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if you are like a unicorn, something very special and one of a kind, so you can just do some negotiation on the price. But in general, the legal side will take, as you mentioned, between the legal side and the accounting will be between 600 to 700,000 US dollar, and all the investment banker will take between 2 to 3%. So this is the game. If you want to raise money, you must play it.
Pay the piper. Okay. So let's move on then to the Startup Nation. Where did this phrase come from, and where was the origin?
First of all, I can tell you generally here, it's the Startup Nation. It's because we have a lot of startups here, startups that are bringing innovation. A lot of them are on the side of the cybersecurity, medical, software, military security. And I think that the root is because of a couple of things. First of all, as I told you, all the VC side and the investment banking ecosystem is highly developed here. So you have all the connection, and if you want to do it, you can do it. Second, all the issue with the research and development, the R&D, the government here are investing a lot on R&D companies and support it. It's like you're from Ireland, like in Ireland, while I think they made a zero tax on exit or whatever. So all the companies are coming to you. So here also we have a lot of grants and that encourage companies to have their R&D here. We have a lot of university institutions and tech university institutions. If you heard about the Technion, I don't know, Technion, it's in Haifa in Israel, very high quality students. And we have also the issue with the military here. There are a lot of employees or students that worked while they were doing their military service, on an elite intelligence units. So in practice, they are practicing in those units, having their connections and their network inside. And when they are getting out, first, they are getting salaries, great salaries. And second, they have all the connections and all the processes, and they understand what they should do in order to to take a startup from the idea to execution.
Yeah, from my time in Israel when I was a teenager on a kibbutz for a summer, I learned there's this, in most places, it's just school to university, but there's this sort of intermediate step where you're trying to get into the best unit. That was the thing that my friends there. It was all about which unit you got into. It was already competitive, and there were certain units that were more esteemed or whatever. And what you're saying there is that if you get into those units, that already is a networking for after, I guess. Like people learn.
So you can see that, a commander that get out from the army, taking his soldier, one that was his soldier, and they all come together and establish a new startup on a cybersecurity issue. I don't know, whatever.
Interesting. So let me just ask a little bit about, because there's this amazing atmosphere of innovation, and it feels like it has the American sort of innovation spirit. But tell me if I'm wrong, but my perception is that Israel politically is quite left, was quite a bit more socialist than America. Of course, things are a little bit different right now, but generally the state is quite supportive of people and so on. And I've heard people say that in America we have great innovation there because the state has less support, let's say. And Europe is dying because we mollycoddle people too much and we look after them too much. They don't feel whatever. Is socially, if you like, is Israel, does it support people, or have you managed to support people will also get innovation at the same time?
Yeah, I can tell you that we have a welfare. The welfare here is the supporting of the government. It's quite high, similar to the Europe countries. Okay, we think here more like European, but on the side of the innovation and everything, we are, and the working hours, and people here are always working and always in the thinking business. So it's more in America. And I think because we are a small country, so we always in a struggle. It's like you are like an island working with countries and companies around the world. So you always need, here we speak Hebrew, but everybody in the industry speaks English, must know English, must know how to read and write and go over everything. It's like always a struggle. It's not too easy to do things. But because we are small, the network here is very easy and more supportive than in the US.
Okay, it's good to hear, because Europe is struggling with innovation at the moment. That doesn't mean that we have to get rid of our social supports, and maybe it's something else. Maybe Israel is the way forward. You can show how you can get both at the same time. What about the bureaucracy then? Is it difficult to do business, or what are the hurdles like to doing business in?
I can compare it to let's say to a regular Western country bureaucracy. So we have a very professional legal system here, and I have a good reputation in this business side. And we also have, if you have here an IP, it will be protected very good on the legal side. So this is one side. The other side is that we have also a very high skilled accounting and law firms that, as I mentioned, the big four, and also we have big law firms. So if you're a foreign investor, it's very easy for you to speak with them, and they will get you through all the processes. And you also need to have somebody inside, I don't know, CFO Services, or somebody that will do your stuff and the local regulatory stuff.
Yeah. So is it, after all that, it's not something you can ignore? We've talked before about how, let's say in America, you figure out how to make money and everything else, you worry about everything else after that. The accountancy often comes year 2 or 3, even sometimes.
Yeah.
But what I heard there was, it's not quite like that. You've got people, there's a culture of getting your foundation right and getting the bureaucracy out of the way. So for example, how long does it take to start a business or register a business in Israel? Can you do it in weeks?
Register a business can take you, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. It's very easy. It's easy. The bureaucracy is not like in America or whatever, but still it's very accurate, I can say. So you can open a company very easy. You can do all that tax process very easy. And as I mentioned, you have the professionals, so you don't need to deal with this. You can tell, I want to invest, or I want to open a company here. Go to the right consultant, tax consultant, and they will help you. It's very easy.
So then there's specific, there's some interesting specific policies as well, which have been implemented in Israel. Maybe you could tell us some about that. And are these policies that you need to be living in Israel to take advantage of, or could you incorporate there and do it remotely?
No, basically, if you are incorporated in Israel, you have this grants or this tax relief. I can tell you it's work like this. Okay, we have here the Innovation Authority. It's very, very developed here, and you can, if you invest in Israel, basically on the early stage, you can get 50 to 60% support if you are in the early stage from the Innovation Authority. And if you are, let's say, a U.S. citizen, so you have here in the Israel and the U.S. tax treaty, so you will be exempt. For example, when you are selling your stocks, you will be exempt and you will be taxed on your homeland, on US, for example. So you will not be taxed here in Israel if you are the owner or the investors. Well, we have also tax benefits here for the employee stock exchange. Here it's attracting very good employees because you are getting a salary and you are also have the chance to be part of the success. The tax on selling, you have a 2 years block here, and after 2 years you will pay only 25% on capital gain, while your own personal taxes can be 47% all in all. So they are encouraging here companies to come from outside and to invest. I can tell you that, for example, I think it's also was like this in Ireland. Intel, for example, built here now I think they're building another factory. And specifically here, the government had a specific tax laws for them in order for them to come here and to have great benefits.
Okay. I always feel like the Intels of the world, they have almost sometimes special laws written for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
The rest of us have to use what's given out to us. And there's a 6% corporate tax on IP income, which is very attractive. I feel like one of the lowest in the world.
Yeah, it can be on some places here in Israel. So it's called the preferred. We have some areas here around Israel that are preferred if you're from the south or from the north. So they want to encourage you. So if you are having your factories or your company there, so you have a lot of benefits. But yeah,
okay.
This is one.
And how about the public markets? You mentioned the NASDAQ. Are there domestic markets which you can list in? And
we have a stock exchange here, very popular. But most of the technological company will try to do it or to be listed directly in NASDAQ or in AIM, OTC, whatever. And the other way is to get to be public here in Israel. After a while, let's say a year or two, to go public on NASDAQ. Now, as I mentioned, becoming a public listed company, I believe it's a way of thinking. You need to be able to work in the processes to be accurate. And so first you're doing it here in Israel, and then you go to NASDAQ and let's say to your real market. So
okay. So you could maybe list nationally at a first step, maybe raise some money there. Let's say you're some round. What would be a private round in maybe other countries? You do a public round there, and then you graduate up to NASDAQ once you're ready for it. Okay. So let me just ask a little bit. You mentioned it's a way of thinking. Let me talk tactically now, right? If you're getting ready so does that mean it's time to bring in NetSuite or it's time to bring in SAP? Do you have to bring in, when you say there's processes, what tooling do you bring in with that normally? Do you have go-to tooling or does it depend?
You mentioned NetSuite. Here it's very popular for SaaS companies, okay? When you have a lot of your end client are customers and you have a lot of small transactions, one of the ways to go and to bring NetSuite like a clear processes, the revenue recognition, you can do it on NetSuite, you can do all the billing, you can do everything. So this is part of the things that you need basically to get it digital in order for you to on a worldwide spread. This is part of the things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And have you been in a position where you'd had to roll out one of these systems, or have you normally come in where they've already been in place?
No, I personally didn't work with NetSuite. I know that my
Okay.
colleagues work with NetSuite, but I took a private company and had a process of reporting according to a public standards, I can say.
Okay.
We have a local software, very good software that we are working with.
Okay. They can provide the same thing. What's the name of the software, if you don't mind? I just
It's Priority.
Priority. Okay. All
Priority
right. All right.
software.
Okay, I'll look them up. Okay, weirdly, we've been talking about how Israel is a great startup nation and it's got all these advantages. But from your own practice development perspective, you actually seek to work with US companies. Is that right? Why is that?
I think this is one of my advantages. But basically, I'm working with Israeli companies that works with someone abroad. Now, I can tell you that the Fractional CFO or the CFO services, controllership services here in Israel is also developed. And we have, let's say, 4 to 5 large companies that are controlling most of the market because, as you probably know, our services are a bit expensive on the high end. They are usually work with the startup industry when they are getting investment, so they must take you. It's like they understand, and at this moment that what am I doing with all this money with the investors? So they will take you. So everybody that works on the startup industry need to have high standards of preparing the company working with outside investors, because most of the investors are coming from the US, coming from Germany, from UK, whatever. And so you need to speak English, you need to understand, you need to prepare the company working with the world, as I said, with people around the world.
Okay, and this is something that you are seeking to develop more with this sort of international connection, if you like. So either a US company seeking to buy an Israeli company, or even someone wanting to list directly in America from America, because you're trained with those CAP principles.
Yeah.
Let me get to the end here and ask you one more question, which is like, what is the most important thing to get right when setting up a company in Israel?
Okay, I think it's like every other country, I can say. First, you need to get a very good tax advisor, expert, okay? To understand exactly what the company is doing, to which customers and what areas in the world that you sell to, and to understand exactly what are the tax issues that you down the road will be deal with. Then you can take, if you're a tech company, will take the big 4, big 5, big 6, some international company to help you, because they have branches all over the world. It's very easy, it's very nice. And you also need to understand the IP, where to locate the IP. And I think at the end, you need to think about the exit strategy from your special point of view. If you are an Israeli, if you are an investor, or if you are, I don't know, from the UK or whatever. And I of course, will suggest to take professional like CFO services or controllership services that helps you to go through all the process. Because as I mentioned, it's not enough to only have an accountant. You have a lot of issues, and controllership and CFO services is doing everything together.
Well, it's powerful for the right type of business, right? So if you're in a certain revenue range, it's a total unlock for life-changing amounts of money if you just find the right advice at the right time. Which is the trick. What they say, being wrong is the same as being late or being early. Yeah, timing. Okay, know that for myself for sure. Okay, so can you tell us a bit about, speaking of timing, when should people reach out to you, or who exactly should reach out to you for your services?
I think people should reach out for services at the moment they are raising, let's say, not on the first level. If you're too small, like if you're on the seed level, it's too small. But after you are raising, let's say, around $1 million, okay, $1 million that you have now 5 or 6 employees, and you need to open a branch. You want to sell, I don't know, to think, okay, what will I do after a year? And if your business is a global business, so you need such services, as I mentioned. I can tell you personally that you can also, if you're a big company, I don't know, and you have a special project that you need an expert that come from, I don't know, like myself, that I was in big companies. I know the reporting side, so you can take also specific project. So this is
Great.
another thing.
All right. Thanks for being on the show. So just to wrap things up, we're going to put a link to your website in the show notes. And I think actually you've given me a very nice outline. So we're going to create a document with the outline here. If you want to get more detail, we'll have that linked up as well. So before we go though, Haim, maybe you can tell me who's your business hero and why?
Okay, thank you for asking. So my business hero is Gil Schwade. He's a local hero, okay? He is the founder and the CEO of Checkpoint Software Technology. It's a cybersecurity company based here in Israel. They established in the early 19s when the term high-tech wasn't so wide and spread. So it was in the 19s. Gil specifically, what I admire on this person, he's a very disciplined guy and he's very conservative. So he managed his company not in an aggressive way. In the early 2000, when there was a big boom of the high-tech, everybody was very aggressive on the compensation for employees. And here in Israel, it was very common that if you are working on the high tech, you will get a car. So he was very accurate and wasn't so aggressive. And his company today is 20 billion US dollar in the market cap. So it's a big company. And also today, there are some people saying that he's too conservative for the high tech industry. But I can tell you that in fact, his company is from 1990 till today and worth 90 billion US dollar. So this is the way I believe that companies, it's a real company. It's not a flip. It's not, somebody that has an idea and just sell it after 2 years. So this is why I think he's my hero.
I used Checkpoint back in the mid-90s, my first job. I remember they had actually physical boxes. And I guess you want your security software provider to be conservative, right? That's the kind of name of the game. I like that because we don't have a lot of heroes that are around for the long term. There's a lot of lionization of people who start a business and sell it after 2 years and go on. But the people who have been around for decades, you have to admire that. Good choice. I hadn't heard of that. Thanks for that one. Thank you. And thank you very much for listening. If you're still listening to us, congratulations. Your special reward is to be able to go to procurementexpress.com/partners. On there, I've got a webinar. If you're a fractional CFO, you can learn more about Procurement Express. You can also learn about how I believe you can sell the value of being a fractional CFO. My 2 cents on that. So even if you're not interested in Procurement Express, you can maybe learn something there. Haim, thank you very much for being on the show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, James. Thank you very much.